Ever get this like weird feeling? It's like you're playing a part in your own life.
Yo, tell me more about that.
Like deep down, you're not sure who you really are or why you keep ending up in the same kind of messy relationships.
Yeah,
It's almost like,
it's a common thing.
really?
More than you think.
Yeah.
Like we're drawn to those familiar dynamics,
Right.
even when they're not good for us.
Okay, so let's dive into this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into this often hidden world of relational trauma.
Oh, interesting.
We're going to be looking at excerpts from psychotherapist Juha Klaavu's work.
Okay.
And this stuff gets deep. He's basically unpacking why we might feel unworthy or ashamed or even guilty in ways that, like, don't quite make sense.
And it's not about like some big dramatic trauma, not like the stuff we see in movies.
Yeah.
This is about something else. That's about the subtle stuff.
Mm.
The emotional environment we experience, growing up, especially with our caregivers.
Oh, interesting. So it's almost like even if things seem okay on the surface,
Exactly.
there's all this other stuff going on.
Yeah. It's the invisible stuff that shapes
Yeah.
us, even when we don't realize it.
So you're telling me that even if, like, my childhood seemed outwardly normal, quote unquote normal,
Yeah.
there could be these, like, hidden dynamics still messing with my relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Even how I see myself in the world.
This is what Klaavu argues,
Hmm.
that this kind of relational trauma, it's way more common and way more impactful than people realize because it's often overlooked.
Why is that?
It's not about parents being intentionally cruel, right?
Yeah.
It's more about them kind of passing down their own baggage. They might not even realize it.
Wow.
Their own unresolved issues.
So it's almost like those DIY home editions people do.
What do you mean?
Like, they might look fine on the outside,
The-
but who knows what's holding them up, behind those walls.
I like that analogy because these seemingly normal families,
Right.
they might have these unstable foundations emotionally.
Wow.
And that impacts the kids in a huge way.
Hmm.
And we don't always see the impact until later.
So how does this play out in real life?
Well,
Like, what are some real world examples of how this relational trauma thing, how does it actually show up?
I'm thinking of this one client that Klaavu talks about. This client insisted they had a happy childhood. Always said that. Always said there was food on the table and clean clothes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
That belief, that basic needs, equal a happy childhood,
Right.
it often masks a deeper feeling.
What's that?
This feeling of only deserving the bare minimum.
Oh, wow.
Like they're not worthy of real love or warmth or genuine connection.
They're not even aware of it.
It's unconscious.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking,
Yeah, it is.
because it's like they learn not to expect too much.
Right.
So they just kind of settle for whatever scraps of affection they get.
Wow. That is really sad.
It is.
So even without the overt, like, abuse,
Exactly.
the emotional coldness, dismissing a child's need.
It can leave lasting scars. Deep ones.
Okay, so we've kind of started to see how these seemingly small things from our childhood, yeah,
Can have a huge EE impact.
they do.
But how do those early things actually show up in our lives today?
That's where it gets really, really fascinating.
Okay.
Klaavu talks about the true self
Okay.
versus what he calls the chaotic selves.
Okay, hold on. I need to write this down. True self
Yeah. True self,
versus
chaotic selves.
chaotic selves. Got
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so imagine your personality as a house.
Okay. I like that. I like where this is going.
Your true self, that's like the solid foundation, the one you're born with.
Okay.
But when trauma comes in, it's like we build these kind of unstable additions onto the house.
Oh, okay.
These additions, they might look okay from the outside,
Uh-huh.
but they're really unstable.
Oh, wow.
These rooms, these selves, they're always threatening to collapse. I'm following you so far. So these chaotic selves, how do they actually show up in our lives?
Klaavu's model, it highlights two really important takeaways for everyone listening.
Okay, great. Lay it on me.
So first, we develop these coping mechanisms, right,
Yes.
to deal with the trauma.
Uh-huh.
And these become like different selves. He calls them victimized or sometimes oppressive selves.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They feel real.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They feel very, very real, even though they're not our true selves, not that authentic self that's underneath it all.
Wow. So give me an example. How might this look in someone's life?
Okay, so imagine someone, they're always on the go, they're overscheduled, always achieving,
I know some people like that.
Right.
Yeah.
On the surface, they seem so functional, maybe even successful.
Right.
But a lot of times, what's really happening,
Yeah.
it's a way to outrun the inner chaos,
Wow.
that pain from their past, the unresolved stuff.
It's all about avoidance.
Exactly. So they build their identity around staying busy, around avoiding those feelings.
That's,
It's heavy stuff.
it is heavy.
And it leads us to the second key takeaway.
Okay. What's that?
These chaotic self-states, they don't just live inside of us.
Oh, no. What do they do?
They attract their counterparts
What does that even mean?
in our relationships.
Oh.
He calls it the key and lock principle.
Oh, wow.
We're drawn to people who fit those unhealthy patterns.
Wait, so you're saying we're not just dealing with our own stuff,
It's more complicated than that.
but we're also drawn to people
Drawn to people.
who fit into those patterns.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. It's almost like our subconscious is playing matchmaker,
Right.
but with all the wrong profiles.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's kind of terrifying when you actually think about it.
It is a bit of a mind-blowing concept, you know?
Yeah.
We want connection. We're wired for that,
Right.
to seek healing. But we don't realize it.
Mm.
We can end up recreating those same dynamics from childhood.
Wow.
And that's why this is so important.
What's that?
Understanding this whole relational trauma thing.
Right.
It's not just about us healing.
Yeah.
It's about breaking those cycles
Right.
and creating something different,
Yeah.
healthier, more fulfilling relationships.
Okay, so we've covered what relational trauma is, how those early experiences can show up,
Yeah.
in adulthood through these chaotic selves. But this is where it gets real,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We need to talk about the actual experiences
Yeah.
of people who've been through this, emotionally abandoned.
Yeah. You're right. This part, it might be a bit intense
Yeah.
for some people listening,
Yeah.
but just remembering that, just recognizing these patterns,
Right.
naming these feelings
Yeah.
even, it's huge,
Yeah.
a huge step
Yeah.
toward healing and understanding.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with it.
All right. So Klaavu breaks down 3 common experiences
Okay.
that often come from this early emotional neglect.
Okay.
The first one,
Yeah.
he calls it magical guilt.
Magical guilt. Okay, that sounds kind of intense. What is that exactly?
It's that feeling, that everything is your fault,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
even when it's totally illogical.
Yeah.
It's like you miss your train,
Mhm.
and suddenly you're convinced that it happened because you didn't organize your sock drawer this morning.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That level of irrational blame
Right.
directed at yourself.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I know people who are like that. Like they'll apologize for things. And it's like, you had nothing to do with that.
Right. Like it's totally out of their control.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. Or like I used to feel so guilty if I forgot to like buy milk on the way home or something.
It's like the guilt itself is the proof,
Right.
even if there's no rational basis for it.
Wow.
And it's often really deep-seated, this belief that you are inherently bad or flawed.
A core belief.
It is. It's like this client, Klaavu describes, this client
Yeah.
was racked with guilt over this broken kiosk window at a hotel, even though she had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Wow.
But the guilt, it was so intense that she couldn't even speak up for herself.
It's so sad. So it's not just like everyday guilt.
Yeah.
It's like deep down, you believe you're responsible.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's this deep-seated belief that you are responsible for everything that goes wrong.
For everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And that brings us to the second experience.
Okay.
Klaavu calls this one the mark of Cain.
The mark of Cain. Okay, that sounds kind of biblical.
It does, doesn't it? And in a way, it kind of is.
Okay.
It's this unshakable belief that you are inherently flawed
Yeah.
and you're not deserving of good things.
Wow.
It's not that you make mistakes, it's that you are fundamentally unworthy.
Of everything.
Love, happiness, success, everything.
So it's not just feeling guilty, it's like truly believing that you don't deserve it.
Yes. And you know what this belief often leads to?
What's that?
Self-sabotage.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
Have you ever been, like, on the verge of something great? A big win? Maybe a promotion? Or a really good relationship?
Yeah.
And then you find yourself pulling away.
Ugh. Yes. It's the worst. Why do we do that?
Because deep down, you don't believe you're worthy of it.
Yeah.
So you create this self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's like we're afraid of success.
Yes. That's the mark of Cain at work.
Oh, wow. I've
Yeah.
totally been there. That fear of, I'm just going to mess this up anyway, so why even try?
Right. And it's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
because it prevents people from experiencing joy, fulfillment, all the things that they want.
So true. Okay. Magical guilt. The mark of Cain.
Heavy stuff, right?
It's intense. Okay, so what's the third one? The third experience of the emotionally abandoned.
The third one, Klaavu calls this inner slavery.
Inner slavery. Okay, wow. I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, and it's intense.
It is. What does that look like, inner slavery?
It's the complete adaptation to another person's needs,
Oh, wow.
their desires, their expectations.
Okay.
You lose yourself trying to please them
Completely.
at the expense of your own well-being, your own happiness.
So it's like becoming so fixated on making the other person happy
Yes,
that you completely lose yourself in the process.
exactly.
Wow. I know people like that too.
Think about that friend, right? That friend who's always bending over backwards for their partner.
Yeah.
They sacrifice everything.
Their own needs.
Their time, their dreams, even their sense of self, all in the name of love.
And I'm guessing this is not about like genuine acts of love and compromise, like in a healthy relationship.
Right. And that's what's so dangerous about this one. It hides. It disguises itself as normal.
Yeah.
Even like desirable behavior. We're
Yeah.
taught that this is what love is, sacrifice.
Right.
But when it's constant,
Yeah.
when you're always giving, but not receiving, not honoring your own needs, it leads to resentment, burnout, loss of self,
Completely.
complete loss of self.
Wow. Magical guilt, the mark of Cain, inner slavery.
Heavy stuff, right?
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
But you know what?
What's that?
I'm also feeling like validated.
Yeah.
Like Klaavu is putting words to these
And
experiences
so many people feel.
that so many people go through in silence.
That's the power of it all, right?
Yeah.
Language and understanding.
Yeah, and it's not just about feeling better, is it? It's about reclaiming those experiences.
Exactly. And while we've covered some heavy, heavy stuff,
Yeah, we have.
there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, just knowing this is the first step.
Awareness.
Yes. Awareness is crucial.
So where do we go from here? Like, is it even possible to heal after this kind of trauma? So where do we go from here? Like, is it even possible
Yeah.
to heal after this kind of trauma?
Absolutely. It's not, it's not always easy and it's not always quick,
Right.
but it is possible. Healing is possible.
Okay, that's good to hear. So how? Where do we even begin?
Therapy can be really helpful
Okay.
with like a skilled professional. It's like having a guide, someone to help you dismantle those colored glasses that Klaavu talks about.
Right. That distort how we see the world.
Exactly. How you see yourself too.
So you're saying we can actually change those patterns, like those really deep ones, the
Yeah.
chaotic selves and all that?
Yes. Therapy can give you that safe space
Yeah.
and the guidance to
Yeah.
really explore those painful emotions and start to heal.
Okay. That makes me think about something Klaavu mentioned. He talks about safety checks in therapy. What are those exactly, and how do they fit into this whole healing thing?
Oh, it's so fascinating because even when we're trying to get help, right?
Yeah.
There's a part of us that still expects those old patterns to play out.
Oh, wow.
So we test. Like subconsciously at first. Yeah. Klaavu says clients might, push boundaries. They might question the therapist, like their motives and stuff, or even just get a little distant.
So it's like, can I really trust this person?
Yes. With my most vulnerable self,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
Wow. So is that a bad thing if someone's experiencing that?
No. That's the thing. Those safety checks, they're actually a good sign. It's progress.
How so?
It means the client is starting to
Yeah.
develop real trust, which is everything for healing.
Wow. That's kind of a relief to hear. So many people struggle with that trust piece. It makes sense.
It does.
Wow. This whole deep dive, I don't know about you, but I feel like we've been on a bit of a roller coaster.
We have. We've covered a lot.
From those initial feelings of like not belonging to like understanding these invisible wounds
Yeah.
and how they really impact us, how they shape our lives, our relationships. It's heavy stuff,
It is.
but it's also,
What's that?
it's hopeful. It's empowering.
Yes. Because once you understand it, right, you're not just reacting anymore.
Right.
You have a choice.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway from all of this. Knowledge is power, right? Understanding these dynamics, even the painful ones, gives us a chance to make different choices, to break free from those cycles and actually create the kind of relationships, the kind of life that we want.
I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because it really is about empowerment. It's about taking back control of our stories and rewriting them.
Yeah.
Not erasing the past, but choosing how we move forward from it.
Absolutely. And I love how Klaavu doesn't just leave it at a personal level.
Hey.
He talks about how understanding all of this relational trauma stuff, it's crucial for a healthier society.
It's a bigger conversation, isn't it?
It is. And it's a conversation we need to be having.
For sure.
Because imagine a world where more people understood this.
Yeah.
Where we responded to each other with more compassion, more understanding. That's what we're talking about here.
It's about breaking those cycles on a larger scale.
Exactly. So to everyone listening, if any of this resonated, if those feelings of unworthiness or that self-sabotage thing, if it hit a little too close to home,
You're not alone.
you are not alone. And more importantly, there's hope. Healing is possible. It might be a journey. It might be challenging at times, but you're not alone. And taking that first step towards understanding, that's the most important one. And hey, you never know. Your journey just might ripple outwards and make the world a little brighter, a little more understanding, one connection at a time.